Hi, everyone. Welcome to First and North. My name is Lou Canellis as we get set for this week's show. Joining me on First and North from Fox in Detroit, Jennifer Hammond, from Fox Milwaukee, Lily Zhao, and from Fox Minneapolis, Dawn Mitchell. Great to see all the ladies on the show. We're here to get you caught up on the news across the NFC North over the next half hour. NFL is starting to release some games before the full schedule comes out Wednesday. Dawn, I'm going to start with you. Wow, big news today. The Vikings are set to leave the country for 2 weeks. They're going to become the first NFL team to play back-to-back games in different countries. I know you. We worked together many years ago. I know Dawn Mitchell has her passport ready. It's updated, and she is ready to go.
I'm already bugging the sales staff. I have to tell you that. I'm like, it could be Dawn in Dublin. We can sell it many different ways. I have never been to Ireland. I have never even been to London. So let me tell you guys, this is just really exciting. And when people are saying, oh my gosh, 2 different countries, well, you know, the Jaguars did it back to back, both in London, right? But it's only an hour flight. So I'm not thinking it's going to be that much different for them. So there are a lot of advantages. Some people say disadvantages, but all I know is this person is very excited. So I'm really happy for them to be the first to play back-to-back in 2 different countries.
Well, let me throw in my opinion, and then you tell me what you think. I think that this actually helps the Vikings. They have trips to Pittsburgh and Cleveland, which would have been bad weather games. Now they're going to be overseas. Browns are going to have to get acclimated to the time difference. Vikings, meantime, will have been there already. Instead of 9 true road games, they'll only have 7. I think this really works in the Vikings' favor. What do you think?
Well, you know what, Lou, I agree with you, because if you look back at the history that the Vikings have had in those 2 cities, if they were definitely going to go to Heinz Field, they've never won at Heinz Field. And they've only won once in Cleveland since 1989. So we also know that Vikings fans are really well traveled. So you know that they're going to take any advantage like me to get over to Ireland and to England. So there's going to be lots of purple. So if you want to have an environment that's going to be advantageous to you, I have a feeling that they have the advantage that way. And yes, they keep all of their home games, and now they only have 7 true road games. So yes, and then they're already in England. They're already adjusted to the time zone a week before they have to play at Tottenham Hotspur. So it's going to be great. And you know, they're going to be excited because no NFL team has ever played in Ireland before. So listening to Kevin O'Connell talk to the media in Ireland was really kind of cool. Of course, they're excited about his last name being O'Connell. And then they even knew that they said, we know that J.J. McCarthy has not been named the starting quarterback yet, but he's also a McCarthy. So they're all excited over in Ireland to get the Vikings there. So I agree with you. I think it's going to be an advantage for them in many respects. Only if, we'll find out tomorrow, only if also they can get the bye week right after their game in London.
Boy, you're asking for a lot. Come on. You're keeping all your home games. I want to bring in Roger, our producer here.
Greedy.
Yes. I want to bring in Roger, our producer, from the show, because Roger did some research on the Vikings' history in international games. Roger.
Hey, yeah, thanks for having me on. Good to be a part of the show. But yeah, I did some digging here. The Vikings have played in 8 international games, 4 exhibition, 4 in regular season. Undefeated, 8-0. Last year they beat the Jets 23-17. 4-0 in regular season games, their most wins since 2005, and just one of 2 teams to remain undefeated in the international games with the Chiefs. So Dawn, I beg the question, do you think they'll win both of those games and stay undefeated?
And stay undefeated, that's right. Now, like I said, beat it, right? They're just trying to beat that record. But how about victorious or something like that? I mean, if they can go and keep their streak going, which goes, I believe, all the way back to 1983 is when they won their first exhibition game. If they can keep that victorious streak, that, you know, that winning streak going. But Vikings fans just care about this year, to be honest with you. The history is nice, but they're like, great, don't jinx us, don't keep saying it, don't talk about it. But yes, they have history on their side, so we'll see.
All right, we've talked about the back and forth already between Matt LaFleur in Green Bay and Ben Johnson now here in Chicago. I want you girls, want you ladies, excuse me, to Take a listen to LaFleur as he takes a shot at Johnson on the Pat McAfee show during the NFL draft.
Yeah, we got a great division. You can't discredit what the teams have done, and I think Chicago's done a nice job of adding to their roster, and you get a good football coach, as he said himself, in Ben Johnson.
Whoa! Yes!
So, but no, I do respect Ben. You can't. He's one of the best play callers in the game.
No, you don't. No, you don't. Listen, the first NFC North matchup released is the oldest rivalry in NFL history, and I know many of us wanted to make the Bears-Lions matchup, that big-time rivalry. As long as the Bears and Packers still around, I'll tell you what, that's number one. Bears host the Packers Saturday, December 20th, part of a doubleheader right here on Fox. Game is going to kick off either at 3:30 or 6 o'clock Chicago time. Bears looking to build a 2-game win streak against the Packers, but Green Bay has not lost here in Chicago since 2018, and it may set up a Christmas Day game for both these teams, both the Bears and Packers. Bears also with another marquee matchup. They'll be taking on the defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. That game on the road, Black Friday, November 28th. At 2 o'clock. Let me bring in Lily. Lily, Packers also play the Eagles at home, Monday Night Football in Week 10, November 10th. Will there be any added fire, do you think, after the Packers wanted the tush-push band?
I think it's inevitable, Lou. I think the tush-push will be mentioned probably 65 times in that game. I think, pretty sure Nick Sirianni and company will probably employ the tush-push as much as they probably can against the Packers, all things considered. But you know what? It's going to be an interesting game outside of the tush-push. This was a team that eliminated the Packers from the postseason, went on to win the Super Bowl. The Packers saw what they were able to do. So it's going to be a really, really fun marquee matchup under the lights at Lambeau Field with, of course, the added tush-push element to it. So I think it's going to be a phenomenal game for the Packers. Again, last season they couldn't really beat anybody that was a contender. This season they certainly have a chance to do so in primetime. So I'm looking forward. It's going to be a great game. The Packers-Bears game in Week 16 also one on my calendar as well.
I'm glad you brought that up because the Packers were, 0-6 against the top 4 teams in the NFC last season?
Yeah, they certainly couldn't compete. Should have been probably 0-7 if you add the Bears on there as well, outside of that blocked field goal. But yeah, 0-6 against the top teams in the NFC. Couldn't really get over the hump against the elite of the conference. So we'll see if they can turn the tide this season. Have a great chance to do so. So we'll see if the Packers can. I'm kind of rooting for them to get maybe 2 wins in the division minimum this year, guys. Big improvement over the 1 last year.
All right, let's take a look at the rest of the NFL schedule released so far. And Jen, I'm going to bring you in. I know that you were looking forward to that potential Lions-Eagles game to kick off the season. Instead, the NFL opts for the NFL East matchup against the Cowboys for the defending Super Bowl champion Eagles. Jen, what are you hearing about a possible Lions game coming up? We haven't seen anything leak on Detroit yet.
Isn't it funny because they're actually, according to Joe Buck, one of the top 3 most desirable opponents for any NFL network because they drew so well in the ratings last season. Anytime, anywhere, any channel, any city that they played in, they were really one of the most watched teams. But it's interesting, between the destinations and the drama in the NFC North and all of the NFL this season with so many teams going abroad, it's starting to feel more like Roger Goodell's got his own episode of Below Deck cooking. Things are absolutely nutty with this schedule release. And the only thing we know about the Detroit Lions and their schedule so far is they will play on Thanksgiving Day, the 86th installment of the Lions on Turkey Day. We know they will not play the Cowboys. There's a chance, though, that they could host some great teams like Pittsburgh. I think also Green Bay is still a possibility in there as well. There's a lot of their other opponents, no Cowboys, obviously, because they play as well. But there's a lot of interesting twists and turns, and I'm sure that we're going to see some crazy Thursday night, Monday night. They had 6 primetime games last year, and so I'm sure they will be all over the board once again coming up this season after they went 15-2.
I thought for sure the Bears would play in Detroit on Thanksgiving Day. I was shocked when I saw that the Bears were playing the Eagles on Black Friday. I want to throw up the rest of the international games. Chargers are going to be in Brazil. Nothing official who they'll play yet. Reports claim it's the Chiefs, and It will stream exclusively for free on YouTube for the first time. Falcons Colts in Berlin, that's a first-timer in Berlin. NFL has already played games in Munich and Frankfurt in Germany. Commanders take on the Dolphins in Madrid. League's first ever regular season game in Spain. I went to London last year. Out of these countries, ladies, where would you guys like to travel and cover an NFL game? Jen?
Well, put me in for Madrid.
Oh, Jen, go ahead.
I said, put me in for Madrid. I've never been to Madrid. I've been to Ireland, fortunately. I've also been to Germany and to London, and I would love to go to Madrid, although usually Dan Miller draws those beautiful abroad assignments, so I'll have to wait, I guess. But it's going to be interesting to see. I know that the NFL has wanted to try to get the Lions to Germany at some point in time because of Amon-Ra St. Brown and his connections with the country. I mean, I thought for sure that they were going to be there this year, and they kind of lucked out. They get the Hall of Fame game and don't have to go overseas.
Dawn, where would you like to go?
You know, I haven't been to Ireland or London, but how about Italy? Because, you know, I would love to just let's expand it even further. Let's go to Italy and get some pizza and some pasta and just, you don't gain weight over there. I don't know. For some reason, when I went to Italy, you can eat your way through and not. So I'm going to be selfish and get the food, and the sights are gorgeous, and let's bring some NFL there.
And I'd make sure that you went to the Vatican and you were able to meet Chicago's very own Leo the 14th, the Pope. How about it, Lily? Where are you headed? Where would you like to go?
The White Sox fan.
Yeah, I love the whole Chicago Pope thing. It's amazing. I would say Ireland. I think it's a beautiful country. I've been before. I really loved it. I think the history there, just everything about Ireland is just so nostalgic to me. I just love the country so much. So I would love to cover an NFL game there. Maybe the Packers hopefully will play there one day. But there's a lot of Packers fans in Ireland as well, so it'd be a fun cover. But I'd love to go overseas and just cover anything. I'm like, send me to anywhere. I'll go do it.
I told Cassie Carlson, who travels with the Bears, step aside. I'm going with the Bears to Brazil next year. We need to take
you're pulling a Dan Miller, Lou, right?
Yeah.
We need to take a timeout. 3 of our teams wrapped up rookie minicamp this past weekend. We'll get the latest. And is Jaden Reed in Green Bay worried about his status? We're going to discuss when we come back here on First and North.
Major League Baseball on Fox.
What I'm doing, getting right to it. The money is talking, I'm flowing, it's coming in just how I
do it. Major League Baseball all season long on Fox.
Welcome back to First and North. Luke Canellis with you at our Fox 32 studios in Chicago. Jennifer Hammond is at Fox in Detroit. Lily Zhao, Fox Milwaukee. Dawn Mitchell, Fox Minneapolis. Lions, Bears, Vikings, they all held their rookie minicamps this past weekend. I'm going to start in Detroit with Jen. Lions with several new coaches, including a new offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator. Jennifer, what did you learn about new offensive coordinator John Morton and new defensive coordinator Calvin Shepard?
Well, I'll start with the defensive coordinator, and Shep is a guy that's been around here for a long time with Dan Campbell running the linebackers, and he's been a defensive assistant for several years throughout the regime. And so he's a guy that we're pretty familiar with. He's also very familiar with the players on this roster, which I think is incredibly important. And he's going to just probably fold and roll right in much more seamlessly. John Morton, on the other hand, he was here prior, and he did have a great relationship with Jared Goff. And that's, I think, part of the huge reason that he is back here in Detroit, because the rapport between Ben Johnson and Jared was really important to the success of this team. And there were a lot of great pieces that he was able to work with. So the question becomes, Ben Johnson was a hell of a coordinator, but he also had a lot of great talent. And so John Morton now just slides into that spot, and he's got all of those talented players. He actually said today is he's going to paint his own picture, and the goal is to win a Super Bowl, and none of that changes just because they've changed coordinators. And he's a guy that has, like I said, familiarity with Dan Campbell, with the program. So I don't see that there will be any missteps or any kind of drop off between the offense and the new coordinator. Also, at the same time, they've got a really talented young new receiver in Isaac Tesla. He's a guy that they moved up for in the 3rd round to get. And you know how Brad Holmes gets when he wants a guy. he started to hear some chatter that they were going to be going after him. And so he really wanted to move up and get him. He went up 32 spots to get him from 102 to 70, gave up a couple of third-round picks next season. And Tesla is a guy that's kind of interesting. He's from Michigan, from the Hudsonville, Michigan area. They have some of the best ice cream in the country in Hudsonville. He went to Hillsdale for 3 seasons, then he went over to Arkansas and played. And he's 6'4", 213. He's got really good hands, and he's a very physical, he's a hand-catching guy. He's physical, he's fast. He ran a 4.43 40 at the combine. So they absolutely love him. And I think one of the things that Brad Holmes has done really well is kind of gone out on a limb and taken guys. With that, though, too, comes criticism. Anytime that you move up to get a guy, you're going to hear it from the people on the outside calling it a draft reach and saying that maybe he might be a bust. But I don't know how you watch one route tree during rookie minicamp and you decide that a guy is not able to get separation. I mean, it's just crazy. It's ludicrous, some of the criticism that comes out this time of year. But I'm not going to hold judgment on anything until I see these guys in games, in pads, against another opponent. And as well, he's also a guy who can block and play special teams. So that's absolutely what the Lions love in their culture.
And I heard great things coming out of Lions camp about Jamison Williams as well.
Yeah, well, when you've got a guy that's got speed like that, I mean, he is just going to continue to evolve and get better and target. I mean, he had 1,000+ yards last season. He's going to be a guy, and as long as he continues, you know, to work with Jared Goff, I think that they're not going to miss a beat. And they've got offensive linemen as well. They've got some of those young rookies that are competing. I mean, we could have either Graham Glasgow, Christian Mahogany, or Tate Rutledge working as guard. They're also working them at the guard and center position, so they're going to have that positional versatility, which is something that Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell have really been married to since they got here in Detroit.
Dawn, take me to Vikings minicamp. What did you learn?
Well, let me tell you, they've got this kid, Kobe King, this linebacker that they really like out of Penn State. And when he was there at the minicamp, right away, he was impressing. He got a pick 6. He was showing his speed, his tenacity. And when someone had said, what are you really thinking of coming here? He goes, I'm coming here. I'm going to earn my teammates' respect. I'm going to work on my pass game, which means my eyes, my footwork, all this stuff. And somebody said, well, what's your motivation? He goes, well, if you want to know anything about me, I'm hungry and I'm also angry. That's how I play, hungry and angry and ready to go. And if you know anything about Brian Flores' defense, right, he loves guys that are like that. And Kwesi Adofo-Mensah said that sometimes you get lucky in a draft. They didn't think that they'd get him. They didn't think that he would still be around when they had a chance. So they got lucky in getting King. And they call him, quote unquote, tenacious, intelligent, and versatile. And I think, for me, versatile is the key thing when it comes to Brian Flores. And then on the other side of the ball, Max Brosmer was a quarterback who just came here. He transferred. He was with the Gophers. He had 2,828 yards, 18 touchdowns with the Gophers. And then he comes to camp, and why I like him at camp is I think the Vikings had their eye on him because once he did not get drafted, they immediately snagged him and offered him a fully guaranteed contract, $246,000. Now, that doesn't sound a lot, but when you guarantee a kid right out of college that hasn't played one snap to get him to go to your camp, I think that that's impressive. So he showed out on 7-on-7s, strong impressions all the way around. So right now with the quarterback room has J.J. McCarthy, Sam Howell, and Brett Rippon. He could really be a candidate to be a backup quarterback, which says a lot for not being in Minnesota very long. So those are the kids that kind of stood out. And what was interesting is they just signed 2 guys that came on that no one had really been thinking of. They had an outside linebacker and Matt Harmon, and then Elijah Williams, who's a defensive tackle. They ended up signing them. But the big names that came in, 2 of the biggest names, Montego Moss, he was a wide receiver, and also Tommy Hill, a cornerback, they were not offered contracts. So there was a lot of eyebrows being raised after saying, okay, those 2 were expected to make it. These 2 guys were not. And so that is kind of the message that the Vikings are saying. You come here, you work hard, you impress us, and then we'll respond and we'll reward you. So they go into camp with 91 right now because they have an Australian punter who's under the international exemption right now. So we'll see how things shake out. But it was really impressive with Brosmer and then Kobe King on the defensive side of the ball.
All right, Bears rookie mini camp. Ozzie Trapillo got some reps at left tackle. This is a big deal. Trapillo said in college that he'd practice and get extra reps at left tackle despite playing right tackle the majority of his collegiate career. Trapillo could be the opening day starter at left tackle. Braxton Jones is still recovering from ankle surgery. Last year's third-round pick, Karan Amagaji. He missed most of the offseason program his rookie year, including a few weeks of training camp. He was recovering from a quad injury. Then he missed a number of games last season, got thrown into a primetime matchup against those rough and tough Vikings, and really had a difficult time. I'd like to see Amagaji get a serious look for no other reason than Ryan Pohl spent a third-round pick on him. Running backs coach Eric Bieniemy really lighting up the running backs, the rookie running backs this past weekend. Dawn, Bieniemy was in Minnesota coaching Adrian Peterson. Real quickly, what do you think we can expect from Bieniemy this season?
You know what? He really focused on let's get you north and south, right? And let's get your mind focused. And I really saw a difference when he was working with Adrian Peterson way back then. I mean, Adrian, as we all know, had the skills, but just to have that intensity and to always, the one thing, always keep your feet moving. So he brings the little details and the intricacies that really help these guys that they already have the talent and the power, but somehow he motivates them to really hone in on the skills and tap into that well that they have. So that's what I really saw. So I hope he can bring that with him. Yeah, we hope so too. All right, yesterday, ESPN's Adam Schefter reported that the Packers met with Jayden Reed's agent, Drew Rosenhaus, to clarify his status after the Packers drafted 2 wide receivers. Lily, what did the Packers say, and is Jayden Reed going to see fewer snaps this season, excuse me?
Yeah, it's an interesting situation because I think people in Packerland are wondering, didn't really realize a conversation was needed per se. I think the tweet was kind of worded interesting in terms of saying Reed's status as their top receiver was not in jeopardy. And in terms of production, of course, Jayden Reed, the top receiver in that regard for the Packers. The last 2 seasons led the team in receiving yards and receptions. Had a great start to the year last year in his breakout game against the Eagles in Brazil, but kind of tapered off in production after that. In the middle, towards the end of the season, Jayden Reed not really a big part of the offense. The Packers talked about his injuries kind of affecting that, and he also did lead the team last season with drops, with 9, tying in Dontavian Wicks guard as well. So maybe just getting some clarification after they drafted Matthew Golden and Savion Williams with the 1st and 3rd round picks for the Packers to see maybe where his fit would be with this team, and just reassuring him that he will still be one of the guys they want to feature on the offense. But I thought the wording of top receiver was interesting. But that being said, I think guys want to protect themselves. They want to know that they are going to be featured in one way or the other, and that these 2 newcomers won't necessarily supplant that at the beginning of the season. Now, whether or not that holds true at the end of the season, we shall see. But I do think that Matthew Golden, a different type of receiver than Jayden Reed, but I think Savion Williams, kind of more of a slot guy, more of a gadget guy that could be a Jayden Reed equivalent. So it will be interesting to see what the Packers do. Kind of a lot of offseason noise regarding the wide receiver room, but kind of interesting to see that conversation needed to be had. But again, I'm sure Reed appreciates that there will be a lot more of him, hopefully, in the offense this fall.
Yeah, and they've got some depth at that position now as well. We need to take our final timeout. Coming up, we're going to wrap up the show. Make sure you keep it here. We've got a funny bit to show you right after this here on First and North.
The UFL is history in motion, built one story at a time. It's the gunslingers, the burners, and the cold-blooded.
A star is born!
It's a dynasty that went back to back to back. This is the UFL. The stories continue.
Even as a kid, when I used to beat my mom in racing, like I had to genuinely beat her. When we used to fight, when I was younger, just wrestling with her or playing around, like, man, I'll never forget, like one time my mom kicked my tooth out because we were just going at it so hard. So if my mom was out here right now and she lined up across me as a receiver, I would jam her into the dirt. That's just that's my mindset. And my mom knows that right now.
Mother's Day this past week, and happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. You know Terry and Arnold better than all of us, Jen. Tell me about him.
Let me tell you, you can hear just by that quote from last year that he is the gift that keeps on giving. That guy has so much chutzpah and personality. We love having him in Detroit and hope that he has a growth season.
We love all of you. We'll see you next week on First and North.